Sorry for getting to this a little late. Had a really bad day yesterday. So I posted my first video, the intro, explaining what this channel is going to be about. And as you can see, I'm wearing the same shirt. I just threw this on because I didn't sleep for shit and wasn't going to make myself all pretty to do this. But I promised I'd get a video done. So here's what happened after I made that video. So I went to the psychiatrist, and it was an absolute fucking disaster on a level that even I couldn't foresee. Now, here's a little backstory with this. I had been to that psychiatrist office 3 times. There's multiple doctors there, practitioners of helping the mentally ill. And I've had bad experiences each time dealing with one of their people. The first time, one of their doctors flew off the handle because I believe one of their medications was making me bradycardic. So my heart was going a little too slow. I didn't like that. And with all the medications I have, that is a problem, because some of these medications cause your liver to store up your meds in your system. In my case, I take beta blockers for my heart and calcium channel blockers in very large doses. So for it to push that beyond what it's supposed to do, it can lead to bradycardia. So my concern was not unreasonable, especially since I was actually bradycardic. So I told him about that, and mind you, this is only the second time me visiting him. And so I figured, hey, he'll give me a different medication, no big deal, right? So after explaining I didn't want to take that medication anymore because I believe it's making me bradycardic. Now, it could have been just my beta blockers, I admit that. But the time frame, and since I've been taking that same amount of beta blockers for a long time, it seemed to make sense that the new medication was causing the issue. Anyways, told him that. He asked me if I had taken a different medication before, and I had, and I said yes. And he said, why'd you stop taking it? And I couldn't remember the specific reason, but I said, for that medication. But I said, probably because it didn't work. That's the only reason I stopped taking it. Either side effects, cost, or it didn't work. And I didn't remember. It didn't have a bad vibe in my head, so I know it wasn't. A side effect. And after me telling him that, he just flew off the handle. Like, I know it's the crazy guy telling you a story, and the mentally ill guy is saying that the medical doctor who specializes in mental health flew off the handle. I know it sounds crazy, but no, legitimately, I was calm, civil, concise, and he just went completely irrational. Like, he just got upset, flew off the handle, raised his voice. Like, his response didn't make any sense. And he's like, you're trying, I'm trying to stop him from doing his job. And all you had asked was about one medication. You know how many mental medications there are? The entire pharmaceutical industry is powered on people's stupidity when it comes to mental, medications and antidepressants. And, I mean, like 75% of the fucking world's the pharmaceuticals are taken by Americans. So, there wasn't only 10,000 other medications he could have tried to choose for me. So his response didn't make any sense. It was very unprofessional. So I filed a complaint about it. Because how the hell do you trust a doctor who does that? I'm expecting him to take care of my mental health when he is not sane himself. Like, he shouldn't be. I don't give a shit if you're having a bad day. It is your job as a psychiatrist to make sure that you keep your patient in the best frame of mind possible. Okay, so there's that insight. So after that, I saw a nurse practitioner there. Figured, hey, it's going to go better. Well, no. So I've been taking Ativan for a very long time. I take high doses of it. I take 2 milligrams 3 times a day. I don't get high. I don't abuse it. I take it as I need it. But you understand also, I have absolutely brutal panic attacks, and they're frequent. And I have anxiety attacks on top of that, which, as you know, if anyone knows, they're two separate things. Because anxiety attacks are one thing, and they're not pleasant. But then when you get to the panic attack mode, it's fucking life-shattering. You honestly think you're gonna fucking die. But the thing is, though, is that anxiety attacks will lead to the panic attack. So, and the anxiety is frequent. Because of my health problems, I am unnaturally aware of my mortality. Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof. And I developed heart problems, and I always had anxiety, but it never was, it was containable, Now it's just rampant. Constantly, I barely leave these 4 walls. I have no life. I can't go anywhere. I stop driving because the panic attacks. It's severe. Very severe. And it's not an exaggeration in any way, shape, or form. So anyway, there's a backstory with that, and so I see this nurse practitioner, and there's a problem where my body doesn't metabolize Ativan the same way as everyone else does. As a matter of fact, it's a very unique thing with me. My doctor probably should write a paper on it. It's that unique. Anyways, but Ativan will not show up in urine tests, which is not uncommon, because while most urine tests test for benzos, Ativan's a little wonky when it comes to that. So I saw this lady. They did a gas spectrometer. The lab screwed up on the gas spectrometer because I take 2 milligrams of it 3 times a day. It should be, showing up almost nuclear out of that test. You take 6 milligrams of Ativan for over a year. I'm basically a walking benzodiazepine at that point. But long story short, she was concerned that I wasn't taking it, even though I offered to come in and take it right in front of her every day. I'd send her videos, whatever it took to prove that I was taking it, because I know I was 100% in the right on this. But it sucks feeling that people think you're lying and just I don't know what they thought. Maybe I was selling you drugs. But it sucks, especially because you're already mentally ill and you already question things. But to have people think that you're lying about things that like that is just, it's not a fun feeling. So you have this mindset where you constantly want to vindicate yourself. You'll do anything to vindicate yourself, because I was accused of bad things before, and it's not a fun feeling. So you just want to let them know, hey, this is I'm telling the truth. So what happened was that she then started the process of weaning me off medication. Now, mind you, I had a caseworker there for me, who was in the room and was listening to this one of the meetings with her. So it wasn't just me, and this nurse practitioner just didn't know what the fuck she was doing. She would say one thing, then would say she had said another thing. But even though I had a witness there with me that was part of the company that she worked for, but it was also my caseworker, I was like, yeah, she said that. You're right. So I had that at least. So, but yeah, she started the weaning off process, and then didn't actually wean me off. She just dropped me off. which is extremely dangerous because the side effects for benzo withdrawal are seizure, coma, death. Not exactly a fun way to go. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same type of thing if you went through like alcohol withdrawal. Alcohol withdrawal will kill you. You know. So it's an evil you don't want to play with. So naturally, I was pretty upset. I'm like, look, just freaking wean me off of it. I have no problem with you weaning me off of it. Wean me off of it and put me on something else that will contain the damn panic attacks. Because you can't just wean me off and then let the panic attacks go rampant because I'll be in the hospital like every other day. Not exactly a fun experience for me or for them. So, yeah, and what happened, well, what did wind up happening is I did go through withdrawals. It sucked balls. My heart went nuts. I was sweating. Oh God, I honestly thought I was dying. I was a nuisance. I'm calling for nurses. I was afraid I was just gonna die in a back room alone in the hospital. Like no one would have given a shit. No one would have known. So naturally, I had a problem with that too. So this leads me today. Now, mind you, these people are all in the same building, same insurance. My file is in the same spot. They're all grabbing and writing from the same place. So I'm not hiding anything. I'm not shopping around for doctors. I'm not trying to shop around for medication. I'm at the same place with the same policies. Just there's multiple practitioners. That's it. So, fast forward to yesterday. I see this doctor. He's adversarial right from the get-go. But this time I was smart. After dealing with the negligence the first two times, and me having no proof other than the second time having a caseworker, but she's not gonna. She's if it ever came down to anything, she's gonna protect her company's butt because it's her job. As I don't line. She's not gonna give a shit about some fat white guy, who's crazy. But I also knew that being mentally ill, that if something did happen, and I wasn't certain it would, but as a precaution, they wouldn't believe me. It's once again mentally ill guy versus medical doctor. So what do? I recorded. I recorded the whole session. Didn't say shit to him. Recorded. I wasn't gonna take a risk. I'm not gonna have him say no about it. And I don't care about the legal ramifications. I needed to protect myself at this point. And there are no protections. Like you could file a recipient's right complaint, but what the hell good does it ever do? Once again, it's you versus the doctor. There's never any proof, and they always side with the doctor. It's your word versus theirs, and they're not going to listen to us. You find me one recipient complaint that's ever amounted to discipline on the doctor's part for whatever wrongdoing they did, without there being like extreme freaking evidence of negligence. It just doesn't happen. So I went in there with the mindset that I was going to protect myself, and worst case scenario, the doctor was polite, professional, and I would delete it, and that'd be the end of it. Nope, something happened. Right from the get-go, within the first 50 seconds of walking through that door, he was just straight up adversarial. He accused me of trying to play, I think it was a round robin with doctors. Except, once again, if I'm trying to shop around for doctors, why would I be going to the same place with the same policy, with them all having access to my records directly? Right? Like, I'm the crazy one, and even I realize there's something that don't add up with that. Like, when I go somewhere else, with different medicational procedures, with different doctors, where they have to request my records. Like, if I'm shopping around for doctors, I'm doing it in the worst fucking possible way you can. Like, So it's like, you know what? You're not going to give me the drugs, but I'm going to hand my file to your partner right over there, Bob. Here's my paper, Bob. You know, look what over, you know, and like, it's so damn stupid. Like these doctors in the same building right now. Like, my file sits in the same spot. Like, it just sits there. Like, every doctor has access to it. Every nurse practitioner, every, you know, how, that's like the worst shopping around ever. Anyways, so, he was just adversarial right from the get-go. And once again, I was calm. I was concise. But even in the audio recording, you could hear me go, well, you're being adversarial. What the, you know, this is not a good start. I mean, within the first minute, he's just, and he wouldn't listen to me. He would ask questions, and he would then immediately cut me off within like 4 or 5 sentences, or not 4 or 5 sentences, 4 or 5 words. And you could tell that this was his style because the two people that saw him ahead of me, mind you, they were in there literally less than 3 minutes. I'm not even exaggerating. They were in and out of the office in less than 3 minutes. Which is just, which really shows the state of the mental health industry. You know, and people wonder why mental health people are off their meds, why people are mentally ill people are doing shootings and stuff like that. It's because doctors like this, who you cannot properly assess someone's mental health in under 3 minutes. I don't give a shit how long you've been doing this. 3 minutes does not give you. It gives you time to answer ask a few questions and get them answered. 3, 4, write a script, get them out that door. That's how we are. We are commodity. We are fast food. We are quick money for them, for people who are too incompetent to be real doctors. You know, and I've looked into this guy's past. You know, there's a website that you can check to see if they've been getting money from pharmaceuticals, and it's a really good database. And yeah, guy's been getting money left and right to do you know, lunches and to do conferences on medications, you know, to speak on behalf of these medications. And this guy didn't know what the hell he's doing. Didn't know the medications I was on. Nothing. Even tried explaining it. Cut me off multiple times. So, you know, and it led to me starting to have an anxiety attack in there, which you should not feel that way around your psychiatrist. Like, if you're going in there and feeling nervous in general, that's fine. I mean, if you have an anxiety disorder, it's going to happen probably. When you go in there and the doctor is antagonizing you so bad that it triggers one, that doctor should not be doing what he's doing. Matter of fact, it's unethical. It's unprofessional. It's negligent. So he just kept antagonizing me, and I explained the situation with the other two doctors when he kept on confronting me about it, and I tried explaining it over and over again, and he kept cutting me off. And I saw him once before, like a year ago, and I did not like him. And the only reason I saw him a year ago is because my regular doctor, who was the head of a psychiatry at a college, a major college in my state, he was hard to get into. It was starting to get hard. Like, I can only see him like 2 or 3 months. So I started looking for another doctor because, you know, my doctor was unavailable. And now he's retired, which is the reason why I'm in the situation I'm in. But I loved him. He was a great doctor. Absolute great psychiatrist. Best I've ever had. He actually listened. And he actually looked over my medical records. He was not only a psychiatrist and an MD, he was also a PhD. So, I mean, he made sure he was very well educated. But he actually took the time to make sure that my mental health was sound. Anyways, so That's the reason why I saw this doctor before, and I didn't like him because he saw me for like, I think it was like 7 minutes, if that, and spit out 5 medications and then sent me on my way. So, but I never was confrontational with this guy before. I never say anything. But apparently, he went through my records and looked at, because I also go to therapy there too. So once again, if I'm shopping around, I'm doing a real shitty job. And he found out that I had mentioned him, and I said I didn't like him. But I didn't say I didn't like him as a person, or I didn't like him as a doctor. I said I didn't like his style. I didn't like the fact that he just spit out 4 medications, or 4 or 5 medications, and then within just a few minutes, just within meeting me and then setting me on my way. I mean, that sounds a dangerous precedent about my health. That means he's not really looking out for my mental health. He's not looking out for my physical health. He's trying to get through as many people as possible to make the most amount of money. And that's not what the mental health field should be about. And that's the whole reason why I made this channel, is because people need to know about this. So finally, at the end of it, when I start really getting anxious and start getting aggravated, finally, after he keeps antagonizing me and just not listening, and and also with the whole thing with the Ativan, with the withdrawals, if we go back to that, when I explained that whole situation, and he lied to me. It's like, I can't write you Ativan. We can't do that here. He pointed to the sign that says this is a Xanax free zone. Well, if the nurse practitioner can prescribe it and chose not to, you as a doctor who under the same guidelines, same thing, can't prescribe it. Like, and I found out later he was flat out lying too, because he was governed under the county mental health, and that was who made the guidelines. And I spoke to someone later, another worker there, and they said no, Ativan's not off limits. So he could have weaned me off of it and did it safely, but let's not do that. That would make sense. That would be safe, So yeah, he basically gave me the middle finger. He's like, I don't give a shit if you go through withdrawals. Basically, if you go through withdrawals, go to the hospital. Go to a detox center. But like, they were treating me like a freaking drug addict. But once again, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't abuse the medication. I take it regularly as I'm supposed to. So why am I being treated like I'm not human? Why am I being treated like a drug addict? Why, when all you have to do is wean me off the shit like you're supposed to medically? Like, I don't even have a degree in this shit, and I know better. But yeah, he was just like, his level of compassion was 0 to like -7. It was just absurd how bad it was. And he puts me on Klonopin, which I've been on before, and it's not very effective. And I tried telling him that, but it was the only thing he would do. So instead of weaning me off this, he put me on another medication. And I asked him a couple times, am I going to go through withdrawal if I take this? Because he lowered the dosage of Klonopin, because I take 2 milligrams 3 times a day. He did it 1 milligram 3 times a day of Klonopin, which it's still benzo, but it's a different formula. All those medications work differently a little bit. That's why Ativan works differently than Xanax, and Xanax works differently than Valium, and Valium works differently than Klonopin, and so on and so forth. So, and he's like, I don't know. Could be. So instead of just weaning me off of it, or weaning me off of it to a reasonable level and then putting me on something else, he just throws me on this other medication and gives me this. He tells me, if you go to the detox center, and gives me a name. I'm like, what the? Because I've never heard of this before. I'm like, what is this place? How do I contact him? He's like, look him up in a phone book. Like, he literally said that to me, like, just completely, like, he's like, I don't have the number. you're endangering my safety, and you're not going to give me the number of the people I should contact? You don't have that available? You've been doing this for how long? And really? Yeah. So finally, I told him he was. I told him he was an idiot. After he brought up, I said that he needed. After everything was said and done, I said, you need to work on your bedside manner. Like, I was direct with him. Like, I had never been treated that way in my life. Like, there was that one doctor flying off the handle. Fine, he's an emotional idiot. But I've never had that level of unprofessional. And then he turns around and says I need to stop, shopping around for doctors. And once again, I argued the logic of the situation, which is, if I'm shopping around, why would I go to the same fucking place where they have the same access to my records, where they have the same policy on medications? Like, right? I was just trying to get help. Like, I was sincerely trying to get mental help, and like, it was so damn stupid. Like, how could you have a medical degree and then have that disconnect with common sense? Like, and I'm the crazy one. And that's the absurd part of this, is that I'm the mentally ill one. So, and he fires back with that, and then I call him an idiot, and he was upset. And I'm missing something here. There was something else. Oh, before that, he said he didn't like me. That was before I called him out on his bedside manner and all that. He said he did not like me. Like, to my face. You don't like me. You don't like me. I don't like you. I didn't say I didn't like him as a person. And I mentioned him to someone else. To a therapist or a psychiatrist. I know. I mentioned a therapist, but I might have mentioned a psychiatrist. That I did not like Rao because again I don't like treated where I meet this guy for just a couple minutes and spits out some medications, and I forget, it was four medications. That I'm not exaggerating. It was like less than 7 minutes. He just met me, asked me a couple basic questions, and then like no medical history, nothing, just. So he flat out said he didn't like it. And I actually made sure I heard him right. So I said, you don't like me? He's like, yes, I don't like you. What kind of fucking medical doctor doesn't like? I've never the year before I met him one time. I never was serial with him. I didn't say anything rude to him. I walked out, and I just never saw him again. I don't think I filled out the medications. And I talked to my doctor that was who's the head of psychiatry. I talked to him about the medication. You shouldn't do that. Right, no matter. Here's what you should do. And because I trusted him and my history better and all that, I went with that. But I never attacked this doctor or anything. But as soon as I walked in, he had his mindset. It was going to be confrontational. He was going to antagonize me. He was going to, like, it was ridiculous. So I called him an idiot. And I had to get a different medication. I had a doctor get me 15 days meds. I'm supposed to find another psychiatrist and set it all up in 15 days. Which, by the way, if you're not new to the mental health industry, is an fucking possibility. It takes at least 30 days to get a psychiatrist. So he risked withdrawals. All this other stuff. Once again, I have this all on audio. Now, I had a nervous breakdown after that. thought I was having heart problems, but I thought my blood pressure was rough. Ambulance. I didn't know how to deal with this. On top of seeking help, and then being treated in such a way that it was just inhuman. Which just emotionally broken, and I don't know if you notice, I have a very monotone voice. How I've learned to deal with bipolar and everything else. I try to suppress everything. I try to feel nothing as much as possible. And I'll admit it to you. That's what this is about. I have this thing where if I get so frustrated that I start crying, it is a bad sign. That means that all my walls are breaking, and I'm going to lose control. And it's full blown nervous breakdown mode, which is dangerous for me. For other people, I don't have violence, but it's very possible. If I lose emotional control, I'm a big guy. I can do some damage. So I go in the hospital. He couldn't help me. The guy who works county, crisis worker. He listens to the audio tape and he files recipient's complaint. So I'm not the only person. The audio, it's hard to hear this guy because he's got that very thick Indian accent, and it was a little further away. But you know, my response is you could tell by the line of questioning, you hear something, you hear me reiterate some of the stuff he says, because just to make sure I understood it as a thick accent, and some of the stuff I couldn't believe what he is saying. But they couldn't help me either. So what's gonna happen in the next couple days, I'm gonna find out if I go through withdrawals. And if I do, it's going to be a miserable fucking experience for me. And these are the people that are safeguarding all the doors. This is the state of mental health in the United States. This is once again why people are shooting up schools, why people are shooting up malls, why the mentally ill are on the streets, and not we give foreign aid to every country in the world, but we have homeless on the streets, and we have the mentally ill not receiving proper help. We have these doctors from overseas and going into the mental health field because it's the easiest, where it requires the least amount of oversight and the least amount of actual medical skill. It's the voodoo science of the medical industry. We think this medication might do something to your brain. We just have to keep certain blood levels in check, and and I'll keep getting paid by pharmaceuticals. I mean, what's the leading meds that people take? Mental health meds, antidepressant, shit like that. Instead of telling them to go exercise, eat better, and do things that are enjoyable, and get out of the house, and actually live life, just go see a psychiatrist, go see a psychiatrist, see a guy for 3 minutes, let him pedal you some shit that'll probably tank your liver, years from now. Let's change the chemical makeup in your brain, so yeah, that was my experience. It was absolutely horrible. Yesterday was a horrible fucking day. And not only did I not get the help I needed from a psychiatrist, and matter of fact, made me 10 times worse. There's nothing that they can do at the hospital. They couldn't set me up with a psychiatrist, consult psychiatrist. They couldn't. They couldn't make sure that I give me a medication, make sure I don't withdrawals. So I just have to wait until something bad happens and pray to God doesn't kill me. Or pray to God that the medication works, and I don't have panic attacks like last night. I was sick for sure. So. Anyways, I've rambled on for 34 minutes, but that was my experience. That was my experience yesterday. So, yeah. So if anyone actually does watch this, forward this to your local senator, forward this to your local representative. Let them know what it's like to be mentally ill, and that even when the mentally ill try to do the right thing, try to get help. This is how we're treated. There needs to be more oversight on doctors. They should not be allowed to discard people in 3 minutes. Imagine your heart specialist for 3 minutes. I think that's going to go. Imagine seeing a neurosurgeon for 3 minutes. This is how people die. So thank you for listening to me ramble, and to the next subject next time. Take it easy.